Ever feel like you're driving a chariot,
Mm.
but with like wild horses?
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of how the Heart Sutra, chapter 3, describes being human.
Mm.
All about like control or the struggle for it, at least.
Right.
And how our true selves and our minds and bodies all play together.
It's a pretty vivid image, isn't it? Really gets you thinking about the challenge, trying
Yeah,
to figure out who we even are and then how we're supposed to actually live this life.
totally. And it's like chapter 3 builds on those first two chapters.
Mm-hmm.
Remember chapter 1 when Avalokiteshvara has that big realization about emptiness?
Right.
It's like seeing the whole world in a new way suddenly, recognizing that everything's connected and impermanent.
And then chapter 2 takes that even further. It explores how form and feelings and perceptions, even mental formations and consciousness, it's all changing constantly.
Yeah, like bubbles in a stream.
That's a good way to put it.
So we've got this backdrop of emptiness, impermanence, and then chapter 3 dives into the self. Where do I fit into all of this?
Well, chapter 3 doesn't pretend that's an easy question.
Right.
It starts by saying how hard it is to even grasp the idea of self. It even says some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all.
It's so true. Like, I've studied this stuff for so long,
Mm-hmm.
and I still catch myself thinking, wait, who am I again?
Happens to everyone, I think. Our minds, they just grab onto the idea of a solid self, like something that doesn't change. But the Heart Sutra wants us to look deeper, question that.
And that's where the chariot comes in. Like, okay, maybe some part of us is just watching all this happen, like a passenger.
Exactly. The individual is the passenger. The body's the chariot itself. Intelligence is the driver. And the mind, that's the reins, controlling the horses. And of course, the senses are the horses, pulling us all over the place.
What gets me is how the text is like, the mind is so powerful. It's like, even when the driver, intelligence, knows the right path, the mind can still take over. Our desires, our emotions, just steer us off course.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it, if the mind is that easily swayed by, what's the word, fleeting stuff.
Yeah.
What hope do we have of getting where we want to go?
It's almost like we're meant to fail. But like, think about those wild horses for a second. Are they bad or are they just powerful? Something that needs training, needs guidance.
That's a great question. And I think it gets to the core of chapter 3. It's not about getting rid of the mind or the senses. It's about understanding them, learning how to work with them skillfully.
Finding a balance then.
Yeah.
Not letting the horses go wild, but not trying to like totally control them either, because that would just cause more problems, right?
You got it. And the Heart Sutra says, by understanding the true self, the passenger, we start to have more control over those reins. We can be more aware, more intentional on our journey.
That makes sense. But how do we actually do that? The text compares controlling the mind to trying to catch the wind. Seems pretty impossible.
It's tough, no doubt. But chapter 3 doesn't just leave us hanging. It points us toward mindful awareness, seeing our thoughts and feelings without judgment,
Yeah.
and being less attached to them.
So not getting caught up in every little thought,
Yeah.
every feeling, just watching them pass by like clouds.
Exactly. And as we get better at that mindful awareness, we naturally feel more free, more at ease. We don't get tossed around so much by our own minds.
Okay, I see how it all fits together. There's this other part of chapter 3 that always stuck with me, though, about misinterpreting scriptures. It's like, even with these amazing teachings, you can still get it wrong.
Absolutely. And that's why a real teacher is so important. Someone who's been on the path themselves. They can help us avoid those mistakes.
Because it's easy to think just knowing the words is enough, right?
For sure. But true understanding, the kind that changes you, goes way deeper. It means putting it into practice, experimenting in your own life, and seeing what happens.
That's where a guide can be helpful. Someone to answer questions, point you in the right direction when you get lost.
Like having an experienced explorer with you in a new place. They can help you read the map, avoid danger, see the beauty.
That's a great analogy. But even with the map and the guide, it's still going to be tough.
Oh, of course. There will be times those horses get spooked, the road gets rough, you feel lost, discouraged. That's just part of the journey.
But the Heart Sutra seems to say that even then, even in the hard times, you can find peace, even joy.
It's not about reaching some far-off destination. It's about enjoying the journey itself, finding those moments of beauty, of stillness, even in the middle of all the chaos and change.
That's a beautiful message, one we could all use, I think.
It is. And it's a reminder that the path to liberation, to freedom, it's not a straight line. There's twists and turns, ups and downs.
Yeah.
But in those challenges, that's where we learn and grow the most.
You know, what you just said about it not being a straight line, it really makes me think. Because chapter 3 also talks about people who chase after heavenly pleasures. They think that's the goal. That's true liberation.
Right, like thinking reaching a fancy rest stop is the same as reaching your final destination. Those pleasures, they might feel good for a bit, but they don't fix the things that cause suffering.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's so important to think about our motivations. To be honest, why are we doing this? Are we chasing temporary happiness, or are we really on the path of self-discovery, on the path to liberation?
That's a powerful question, and it can help us stay focused even when things get tough.
I think that's a great place to stop for now.
It's funny, this whole thing about misinterpreting scriptures and needing a good teacher, it reminds me of other traditions too.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, like the Bhagavad Gita.
Mm.
It also talks about how you need a qualified teacher, a guru, to, guide you on the path to self-realization.
That's interesting. I haven't actually read that one. What's it about?
So it's this ancient Indian text, part of a bigger epic, the Mahabharata. Basically, it's a conversation
Okay.
between a warrior, Arjuna, and his charioteer, Krishna, who also happens to be like an incarnation of God.
Hold on. A charioteer. That's like the same analogy as the Heart Sutra.
Right. It's like this chariot image for like what it means to be human. It pops up everywhere.
So what's Arjuna's problem? Why does he need this guru?
So he's about to go into battle against his own family,
Whoa.
and he's just overwhelmed with doubt, despair, all of it. He's questioning everything, the meaning of life, what duty even is, what his actions will cause.
That's pretty heavy stuff. So how does Krishna help him?
Well, Krishna, being the guru, he takes Arjuna on this journey, a deep philosophical and spiritual one. He teaches him about the self, about how the material world is kind of an illusion, and about how important selfless action is.
Selfless action. How does that fit in with liberation?
So Krishna says, true liberation, it doesn't come from hiding from the world. It comes from doing your duty, your dharma, but without being attached to what happens because of it.
So it's not being passive. It's more like engaging with the world, but in a mindful way, detached.
Exactly. The key is to act without ego, Krishna says. Don't let your selfish desires mess up your judgment. Do things as an offering to something bigger than yourself, to the divine.
Makes sense. Shifting from what's in it for me to how can I serve?
You got it. And when you change your perspective like that, it really changes how you experience life. You're not constantly striving, chasing after things that don't last, that don't really satisfy you.
I see how that connects back to the Heart Sutra too. This idea of non-attachment, letting go of needing things to go a certain way, not clinging to outcomes.
It's really interesting, right? All these different traditions, they use different words, different images, but they're all pointing to similar truths.
Like puzzle pieces. Different perspectives on the same underlying reality.
And we each got to find the pieces that resonate with us, the ones that help us make sense of our own experiences and find our own way towards liberation.
Speaking of finding our way, something that struck me in both the Heart Sutra and the Bhagavad Gita is how they emphasize understanding the nature of reality.
Yeah, they both challenge how we normally see the world, right? They're like, look deeper, go beyond your senses, beyond what you think you know.
Like in the Heart Sutra, with emptiness, recognizing that everything's connected, impermanent, nothing exists on its own.
And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about how the material world is an illusion. What we think is solid, real, it's actually always changing. It's ultimately impermanent.
It's like both texts are saying, wake up. Don't be fooled by appearances. There's more to reality than what you see.
Exactly. That awareness, that change in how you see things, that's the starting point for any real transformation. It's where wisdom, compassion, and ultimately liberation come from.
It's powerful. Like we're being told to step out of the matrix, see things with fresh eyes.
And when you do that, you open yourself up to a whole new way of being, a way of living based on understanding, acceptance, peace.
I'm curious, though, how does this, like understanding the nature of reality, how does that actually play out in our everyday lives? I mean, it's easy to talk about these big ideas,
Right.
but what about our daily struggles, our challenges? How do we apply it all?
That's the big question. And I don't think there's one simple answer. But one thing that comes to mind is cultivating awareness. Both the Heart Sutra and the Bhagavad Gita talk about paying attention, being present.
Yeah, makes sense. If we don't even know what's happening inside us, our thoughts, feelings, motivations, how can we make good choices about how to live?
Exactly. It's like driving that chariot with your eyes closed. You'll end up somewhere, but who knows where.
So awareness is like opening our eyes, seeing what's going on inside and out.
Hmm.
But then what? What do we do with that awareness?
That's where the practices come in. Both traditions have all these tools and techniques for training the mind, for cultivating mindfulness, compassion, wisdom.
Like meditation. I know that's a big part of Buddhism.
Yeah, meditation's great for calming the mind, focusing, getting insights into reality. But there's other stuff too. Mindful breathing, ethical behavior, even just simple acts of kindness.
So it's not just about sitting and meditating for hours. It's about bringing that awareness into everything we do.
Exactly. It's about turning everyday life into opportunities to grow, to become more liberated, waking up to how sacred each moment is, even the ordinary ones.
That's beautiful. Makes me think of that line from the Heart Sutra. Gate, gate, paragate, parasem gate, bodhisvaha, the one that's usually translated as gone, gone, gone beyond, gone altogether beyond, awakening hail.
Yeah, that's a powerful mantra, a call to wake up to who we really are, to go beyond our limited view and embrace that boundless freedom that's always there.
But like we've been talking about, that journey to awakening, it's not always easy. There's going to be challenges, obstacles, times when you doubt, when you feel lost.
Oh, definitely. And that's why compassion is so important for ourselves and others. We're all in this together, navigating this whole human experience, the ups and downs.
It's like we're all on this chariot of life, each with our own journey, but all going in the same direction.
And along the way, we can help each other, encourage each other, understand each other, celebrate the good times, and be there for the tough times.
I love that. It reminds me that we don't have to do this alone. There's strength in being together, in connecting with people who get it, who share our goals and our struggles.
Absolutely. And maybe that's the real destination, that feeling of connection, of shared awakening. That's what the Heart Sutra points to.
So as we wrap up this look at Chapter 3, I want to leave you with something to think about. If the journey is just as important as the destination, how do we make the ride more enjoyable? How do we find more joy, more gratitude, more peace and connection along the way?
Yeah, that's a great question to think about. What does all this mean for us as we keep going on our own journeys? We've talked about the self, about reality, about different paths to liberation. But how do we actually live this stuff? How do we take these teachings and make them part of our daily lives?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is. And I don't think there's just one answer. But one thing that really stands out is this idea of awareness. Both the Heart Sutra and the Bhagavad Gita, they're all about paying attention, being present right here, right now.
It makes sense if you think about it.
Yeah.
If we're not even aware of what's happening inside us, our thoughts, feelings, all that, how can we make good choices about how to live?
Exactly. It's like trying to drive that chariot with your eyes closed again. You might get somewhere, but it's probably not going to be where you wanted to go.
So awareness is like opening our eyes, seeing clearly what's going on inside and outside. But then what? What do we actually do with that awareness?
That's where the practices come in. Both traditions have all these different tools, techniques for working with the mind, for developing mindfulness, compassion, wisdom.
Like meditation, right? That's a big part of Buddhism.
Yeah, meditation is great for calming the mind, for concentration, for getting insights into how things really are. But there's other stuff too, like mindful breathing, ethical living, even just being kind, being generous.
So it's not just about sitting on a cushion for hours meditating. It's about bringing that awareness into everything you do.
Exactly. It's about making everyday life into a chance to grow, to become more free, to see how special every moment is, even the boring ones.
That's a really nice way to put it. It reminds me of that line from the Heart Sutra, gate, paragate, parasem gate, bodhisvaha, the one that's usually translated as gone, gone, gone beyond, gone altogether beyond, awakening hail.
Yeah, that's a powerful one. It's like a call to wake up, to see who we really are, to let go of our limited view and embrace this huge freedom that's always right there.
But like we've been saying, that journey to waking up, it's not always a piece of cake. There's going to be tough times, obstacles, doubt, even despair sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where compassion comes in. For ourselves and for other people, we're all in this together, going through the ups and downs of being human.
It's like we really are all on this chariot of life, each with our own journey, but all going in the same direction ultimately.
And as we go, we can choose to support each other, encourage each other, understand each other, be happy for each other's successes, and be there when things are tough.
I really like that image. It reminds me that we don't have to do this alone. There's strength in connecting with people who get it, who are going through the same things.
For sure. And maybe, just maybe, that's the real destination, that sense of connection, of waking up together. That's what the Heart Sutra seems to be pointing toward.
So, as we finish up looking at Chapter 3, I want to leave you with one last thing to think about. If the journey is just as important as where you end up, how can we make the ride better? How can we bring in more joy, more gratitude, more peace, more connection along the way? That's something for all of us to reflect on, I think. And as always, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave us a comment and let us know what you think about this episode. And don't forget to like and share it with anyone who might find it helpful. Until next time, may your journey be filled with wisdom, compassion, and joy.